Today, we're cracking open one of the most important documents in the U.S. Army's library, Army Doctrine Publication 4.0, Sustainment. This thing, it's basically the playbook for the unsung heroes of the battlefield, the ones who make sure the fight can happen in the first place. So let me ask you a question right off the bat. Who really wins a war? Is it the soldier with the rifle, the pilot in the cockpit, or is it someone else? Someone, behind the lines, making sure that soldier, that pilot, and that tank commander have everything they need to keep going. I want you to picture this. You've got an armored brigade combat team, and they are on the attack. And they are absolutely crushing it, punching through enemy lines, seizing objectives at lightning speed. The plan? It's working perfectly. By day 2, they've pushed 200 kilometers deep into hostile territory. They're moving fast, the enemy is in total disarray. Victory feels like it's right around the corner. The spearhead is just unstoppable. But then, day 3 hits. The engines start to sputter. The ammo racks are looking awfully empty. That unstoppable spearhead, it grinds to a halt. And not because of the enemy, but because it has literally outrun its own lifeblood. And that right there brings us to the core truth of this whole explainer. It's a line that every single military leader knows by heart. Maneuver wins battles, but sustainment wins campaigns. That brigade that stalled out, they just learned the hardest lesson in warfare. Without support, the sharpest spear is really just a pointed stick. So, let's break down exactly how the Army tackles this massive challenge. We're going to define what sustainment really is, unpack its 8 guiding principles, look at the 4 main pillars of support, map out the global network, and then finally see why this is the engine that wins wars. First up, the engine of victory. Let's get a really clear idea of what we're talking about here, because trust me, it's so much more than just beans and bullets. Now, the official definition from ADP 4.0 is the provision of logistics, financial management, personnel services, and health service support necessary to maintain operations. But the real kicker is that last part, until successful mission completion. See, this isn't just about dropping off supplies. It's about the relentless, unending endurance required to keep the force in the fight until the job is absolutely done. And this is huge, because good sustainment gives a commander 3 things they need more than anything else. First, operational reach. That's how far and how long you can fight. Second, freedom of action. This gives the commander options, the ability to be unpredictable. And third, endurance, the capacity to take a punch, get right back up, and keep fighting for months, not just for a few days. So the key takeaway here is that sustainment is not a supporting role, it is a form of combat power.
All right, let's move on and see how this all works. To make it happen, Army Doctrine lays out 8 fundamental principles. You can think of these as the essential rules of the road for every single person involved in sustainment.
Let's look at the first 2 together, because they are deeply connected: simplicity and responsiveness. Simplicity means you have clear, standardized processes. Why? Because unnecessary complexity is the absolute enemy of speed. Think about a Formula One pit crew. Their actions are brutally simple and rehearsed to perfection. It's that simplicity that allows them to be incredibly responsive, getting a car back in the race in under 2 seconds. It's the exact same idea here. Simple plans and standard procedures allow sustainers to react instantly when a commander's needs change on the battlefield. Next up, we've got integration and economy. Integration means sustainment is baked into the operational plan from the very beginning. It's not something you just bolt on as an afterthought. It makes sure everyone, the logisticians, the finance folks, the medics, is all pulling in the same direction. This directly leads to economy, which is all about using your resources efficiently. Now, this doesn't mean being cheap. It means getting the maximum possible effect from every single gallon of fuel, every dollar spent, and every soldier on the team. The last 4 principles are all about building resilience right into the system. Anticipation means you're not just reacting, you're using intelligence to think ahead, to position supplies before they're desperately needed. Survivability is just common sense, right? The enemy gets a vote, so you have to protect your supply lines and your people. Continuity ensures that support flows seamlessly, like a river from the factory all the way to the foxhole. And finally, improvisation. This one acknowledges that no plan is ever perfect. It's that critical ability to adapt and find solutions when things inevitably go wrong. Okay, so we have the principles. Now let's look at what sustainment actually does. The doctrine breaks it all down into 4 main pillars, what the Army calls the sustainment warfighting function. So as you can see, logistics is the biggest piece of the pie here, but it is not the whole story.
You've got personnel services, health service support, and financial management. They're all distinct, but they are equally critical, and they have to work together in perfect harmony. So let's quickly break these down. Logistics is the stuff. Moving it, supplying it, and fixing it. It's the part we all see. But just as vital is financial management, or the money. This isn't just funding the mission, it's managing contracts on the ground that can help stabilize a local economy. Then you have personnel services, the people. This is all the HR stuff that keeps the force manned, everything from getting replacements to processing awards, plus legal and religious support, and finally, health service support, the medics. This is a complete system for casualty care, medevac, and medical logistics that makes sure soldiers get the right care right from the point of injury.
Let's just zoom in on logistics for a second. The Army categorizes literally everything into 10 classes of supply, and on this slide are some of the most critical ones. You've got Class 1, that's your food and water. Class 3 is the fuel, the lifeblood. Class 5 is all the ammo. Class 7 is the big stuff, tanks, helicopters. Class 8 is medical supplies. And Class 9 is every single repair part you can imagine to keep all that equipment running. Managing this massive catalog, that's the science of logistics. So how does all this stuff, money, and people support get from, say, a factory in the US to the soldier who needs it on the other side of the world? Well, that brings us to the Global Support Network, a system of just incredible scale and complexity. Think of it like a giant multi-stage pipeline. It starts in the strategic support area. That's factories and depots back in the US, managed by organizations like the Defense Logistics Agency, or DLA, and moved all over the world by U.S. Transportation Command, U.S. Transcom. From there, it flows to the operational level, where a Theater Sustainment Command manages it in-country. And finally, it gets pushed right to the tactical edge, where a Division Sustainment Brigade gets that specific fuel, ammo, or repair part to the exact unit that needs it. It's literally a global relay race that's happening 24/7. Okay, let's tie this all together in our final section. Let's bring it back to those 3 key capabilities we started with. Why does all this doctrine, all these principles and pillars, why does it ultimately win wars? Here's the payoff. Operational reach is created by things like Army pre-positioned stocks. That's entire fleets of ships loaded with tanks and supplies just waiting to go. That lets forces arrive and fight almost immediately. Freedom of action comes from tailoring the support. If you're attacking, you flood the zone with fuel and ammo. If you're defending, you prioritize barriers and medical supplies. This is what lets a commander seize and hold the initiative. And finally, endurance is a result of that robust global network, making sure there's a continuous flow of support and the ability to repair and rebuild units to keep them in the fight for the long haul. And that brings us to our final, and I think most powerful idea. If you think of maneuver as the sharp tip of the spear, then sustainment is, well, it's everything else. It's the shaft that gives it reach, and it's the arm that gives it power. The ability to strike not just once, but again and again and again until the campaign is won. So, the next time you see a convoy of trucks rolling down a road, a cargo plane landing, or just a soldier signing for a new part, remember what you're really seeing. You are seeing the generation of combat power. You're seeing the creation of options for a commander. You are seeing the engine of victory at work. You're seeing reach, freedom, and endurance. If you really want to understand modern warfare, you have to understand sustainment.